is to return more value to you, the shareholder. So if they want to return more value to you, the shareholder, now guess what they're going to do? You are already giving me your money for holding this stock, right? You're giving me money to help me grow and expand this business. Let me give you some money back in return. So that same exact money that you gave them prior is going to be earning for you in appreciation with capital gains, but they're going to pay you for each share of that business that you own now. So they're going to pay you just for being a shareholder. So now the same money that you've already used, the same money you already essentially have spent on this company's stock to be a shareholder, to own a portion of this business, is going to pay you essentially for nothing at this point, because you've already spent the money. But you're going to continue getting a dividend payout, a dividend payment, a dividend disbursement for the money that was already spent. What's better than having your money working for you? The only thing that's better than having your money working for you is having it working for you for 24 hours out the day strong, 24/7, 365. That's what dividend investing is all about. This money is working for you throughout the day, throughout the calendar year, and it's going to continue to work for you. You're going to continue to get those regular incremental payments quarterly, monthly, annually, semi-annually, and you're going to continue to have that money that's going to be working for you, and you're going to get paid on that same capital that you had put in a year ago. Now, don't get me wrong. If you add more capital to it, you will get more income, okay? The reason being is because guess what? You're deploying new capital into the market. Guess what happens? Now you got more shares. The more shares you get, the more income that you get, right? The more income that you get, the more that you can reinvest, and that reinvestment will buy you more shares this time. And of course, it's going to be free, right? It's going to be money that you didn't have to spend on shares that you're going to continue to get. So now, guess what happens? Now you have a greater compounding advantage. You have a greater effect in the area of compounding interest, right? So now you're adding new capital to your investments by way of reinvesting the free capital that the business is going to give you, because essentially this is free money that these companies are giving you because you're already invested. You're already invested. So they're going to give you free money for continuing to stay invested, right? So now you reinvest that. Guess what happens? Now you're essentially buying more shares with the money they're giving. They're giving you money so you can earn more money. That is a beautiful idea. That's a beautiful premise, but we got to learn how to get in the game. How can you have a business give you money to get more money if you don't understand the principles or the concepts of how this strategy of investing works, right? You can get it to where you can literally pay your deals with your bills with your dividend income. You can pay bills with dividend income. Every stock that you have, that you own, it should have a job. This stock is going to pay this bill. This stock is going to pay that bill. This stock is going to pay that bill. The only way you can achieve that is by continuing to add capital, growing larger positions, and understanding how to play the game. And like I said, this is a beautiful thing because now you're adding more shares. The more shares you have, the larger the return that you're going to have. The larger the return you get, it's going to add to increased dividend income. And now you're going to have a snowball of increased profitability due to compounding. You got to understand, now you're making money from the dividends. That money is getting reinvested to buy more shares. So when you get your next dividend payout, guess what? You have more shares. That means you get more income. You get more income. Now you have the ability to have, guess what? The compounding effect works better over the longer period of time, and it works better the more capital that you have input, right? So you gotta think about it. The compounding effect, it'll work better on $1,000 versus $100. Don't get me wrong, $100 will still compound, it will still grow at compounded rates, but 10% of 1,000 is $100. 10% of 100 is $10. So you gotta understand, you're making capital appreciation and compounded interest based on a larger number. The more you have invested, the more you get in return. That's how it works. I have a saying, there are power in shares. The more shares that you have, the more you make in appreciation and capital gains, the more you make in dividend income, the greater the compounding effect. This only happens by way of having larger positions and a bigger portfolio. You have to continue to add capital if you want to be able to take full advantage of the opportunities that the stock market presents to you, right? The more capital that you have and the market's working for you, the better the returns that you get, and I promise you, the happier an investor you'll be. That's how you play this game. But it's a mindset, right? You have to get in the game. You have to understand the nuances of it. You have to understand the ebbs and flows, the highs and the lows. You have to understand the different market cycles. You have to understand what happens when the markets flip, when they rotate. You have to understand when to move new money in, right? When to have money on the sideline, waiting, ready to go, right? So you can put it in the markets in order for it to grow. It doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by chance. It happens because you're properly educated in the sense to where you know how to play the game at the highest level. All right. The more you know in the stock market or any investment vehicle that you're playing in or that you're investing in, the greater the success that you're going to have. The name of the game is to be invested and educated to a point to where your returns aren't limited by your lack of knowledge or education, right, or awareness, right? You want your returns to be impacted to the upside by way of the education that you have, by way of the expertise that you have, right, by way of the patience and emotional intelligence that you have to be able to play this game, to be invested at the highest level. You have to understand, if you want to play the game, especially to win, you have to learn how to play the game. No one has ever won at anything purposely by way of accident. It's never by chance. The greatest basketball players didn't become successful because of chance. It was because of effort. It was because of practice. It was because of education, studying history, studying current markets, right? And looking and changing the game on the way you do things and innovating and going to taking things to the next level. That's how you play this game, and that's the message that I wanted to relay to each and every one of you today. The goal is to get in the game, and not only get in the game, but be successful at the game. And the only way you can do that is by educating yourselves. Are you doing the fundamental research? Doing the fundamental research is what limits risk and it maximizes profits. You increase your margin of safety, right? You protect yourself from loss of principal from your initial investment by way of education. The more you know, the more you grow, the more you learn, the more you earn. If you don't know how to find optimal entries in the stock market, you'll end up buying high, hoping it goes higher, or you'll end up buying high only to see that stock go lower. But instead, what you should do is you should be putting yourself in a position to buy low, and you know it's low. Sometimes, depending on the market, depending on the cycles of the market, depending on the sentiment, it might continue to go low. If it's in a bear market, it's going to keep going low. If it's in a correcting market, it's going to keep going low. You find an optimal buy, optimal entry. You may have to average down, but you know it's going to go higher. Or even sometimes, or most times, in most cases in the market, you can find, you might not time the bottom because it's hard timing the bottom. But you can find optimal entry and oftentimes see your stocks appreciate from the moment that you buy. They can go and grow upward from the moment that you buy. That is a possibility if you play the game the right way. But you have to become educated in order to do it. You have to raise your level of awareness. You don't have the ability to do that until you become aware how to do that. The only way you can do that, to raise that level of awareness, is to understand and learn how to play the game. Once you do that, now you'll start to see those gains, right? And this is a long-term game, right? It's a long-term game. So the longer that, because you gotta understand, the compounding effect works better over time. The longer you're invested, the more capital gains you'll get, the more income you'll get, the more growth, the larger and longer the runway of growth that you have available for you. This is how you play the game. But I'm only here to teach you guys. Like I said, I want to teach you. I'm here to preach to you, and I hope to reach you, right?